Is the IDF warning of another October 7th style threat, as Hamas plans its next moves through talks in Egypt? What if Hamas's next challenge to Israel does not emerge directly from Gaza, but through regional diplomacy and outside mediation? Could Hamas's next incursion into Israel be shaped from a rival neighboring nation, as its top leadership gathers in Cairo? Is a new worry growing for Bibi as Hamas holds crucial talks inside Egypt, Israel's powerful southern neighbor and longtime mediator? Why is Hamas's leadership meeting Egypt's spy chief, as Israel watches closely for signs of a shift on its southern front? Is something stirring inside Gaza, while Jared Kushner prepares for high-stakes talks aimed at rescuing Trump's stalled peace plan? Hamas has returned to Egypt for high-stakes talks as Trump's Gaza plan faces a major test, with disagreements still blocking its next phase. On August 16th, a Hamas delegation met Egyptian intelligence chief Hassan Rashad in Cairo to discuss strengthening the ceasefire and moving the Gaza roadmap forward. The delegation was led by Hamas chief Khalil al-Hayya, who arrived in Egypt on August 15th for his first official visit since assuming leadership in late July. Hamas said the talks would focus on advancing a 15-point post-war roadmap for Gaza, covering issues including Israeli withdrawal, Hamas weapons, and civilian administration. The group also wants mediators to press Israel to begin implementing the agreement, after Netanyahu publicly rejected key elements of the US-backed plan. A larger meeting is now being arranged around Jared Kushner's upcoming visit to Egypt, as Washington tries to narrow differences over Gaza's future. Hamas negotiators could meet US officials and Board of Peace envoy Nikolai Mladenov, although the precise format and attendance of talks have not been confirmed. The planned meeting would focus on obstacles preventing the Gaza plan from moving ahead, including unresolved disputes over disarmament, governance, and Israeli military withdrawal. Kushner is due to visit both Israel and Egypt to try to bridge the gaps, traveling with Mladenov and reportedly other Board of Peace representatives. Hamas is also contacting Egyptian, Qatari, and Turkish mediators over the stalemate, relying on the three states to preserve momentum behind the ceasefire framework. The meeting comes amid reports of increased activity inside the Gaza Strip, adding pressure on mediators seeking to prevent the fragile process from collapsing. Israeli troops stationed along the Gaza border are warning of fresh armed activity inside the Strip, raising new concerns about possible preparations for further attacks. The soldiers say they have observed gunmen operating in the area, while also reporting that explosives are being placed near the so-called Yellow Line, increasing fears of renewed violence. The Yellow Line divides areas of Gaza that are under Israeli control from those controlled by Hamas, making the reported activity particularly sensitive for troops stationed nearby. Some Israeli soldiers say the situation feels eerily similar to the period leading up to the October 7, 2023, Hamas-led attack, when warning signs were reportedly building before the assault began. Before the 2023 attack, Israeli surveillance troops had warned their superiors about Hamas training and preparations that appeared to be connected to a potential large-scale assault. Israeli surveillance soldiers had also reported suspicious Hamas movements and explosive-related activity, describing developments that they believed could indicate preparations for an imminent attack. According to a report by the Times of Israel, many of those warnings were not acted upon in time, raising questions about how seriously the intelligence was treated before the October 7th attack. Now, Israeli soldiers fear that their latest alerts about Hamas activity could once again be ignored, potentially allowing warning signs to go unaddressed until it is too late. One of Israel's surveillance soldiers said, and I quote, "I feel just like on October 6th. What's the difference? That we're identifying it on the Yellow Line and not on the border fence. That's the difference. We're really seeing that they know we won't fire on them. The Gazans aren't idiots. In the end, they're constantly testing us and seeing if we react or not. It's just like before October 7th. Feel a little unnecessary. If I know that, in any case, they won't do anything with my identification of terror activity, what's the point of my sitting 8 hours a day and monitoring the area super closely?" Unquote. One Israeli surveillance soldier said she feels helpless while watching what she describes as suspected terrorist activity taking place across the border, with concerns growing that the reported movements could pose a serious threat. Another soldier said the troops can feel unnecessary when the information they identify and report does not appear to result in immediate action, leaving them questioning whether their warnings are being taken seriously. The soldiers say Israeli combat troops are positioned only hundreds of meters away from suspected operatives, meaning any escalation or armed activity could potentially place frontline forces in immediate danger. One surveillance soldier warned that those combat troops could be exposed to serious risks if Israel fails to respond to the reported activity, particularly if the intelligence being gathered is not quickly translated into action. The report comes as US-backed efforts continue to push for Hamas to disarm in Gaza, adding another layer of tension to an already fragile security situation and raising questions about the prospects for lasting calm. Amid the ongoing war with Israel, Hamas has said it will take part in the Palestinian legislative election scheduled for November, seeking to re-enter a formal electoral process after 2 decades without a nationwide parliamentary vote. The group plans to run within the broadest possible national coalition, according to Hamas Political Bureau member Hassan Rashad, who said the movement is holding discussions with multiple Palestinian factions to form a unified electoral bloc. The legislative election is set for November 28, and if it proceeds, would become the first Palestinian legislative poll in 20 years, with voting planned across Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. Hamas won the last Palestinian legislative election in January 2006, taking 74 seats and defeating its rival Fatah in a result that transformed Palestinian politics and was followed by the Hamas-Fatah split. Notably, Hamas opposes political conditions for election participation, rejecting requirements that parties adopt a specific political program or accept preset ideological commitments in order to stand for office. Badran called the planned vote a historic opportunity for political change, arguing that a broadly representative legislative council could restore legitimacy and give Palestinians a renewed role in shaping their political future. The Hamas Political Bureau member said the election could end 2 decades of unilateral decision-making, referring to the prolonged absence of an elected legislature and the dominance of Palestinian Authority institutions under President Mahmoud Abbas. Badran also acknowledged that the elections do not yet have full national consensus, highlighting the continuing disagreements among Palestinian factions over conditions, representation, and the political framework for the vote. Hamas said Jerusalem and the Al-Aqsa mosque compound remain central priorities, placing the holy site at the heart of its political messaging ahead of the planned Palestinian legislative elections. Hamas official Hassan Rashad described Al-Aqsa as the core of the conflict with Israel, reflecting the site's immense religious and national importance for Palestinians and the wider Muslim world. Al-Aqsa is located within Jerusalem's Temple Mount, also known to Muslims as Haram al-Sharif, while the mount is Judaism's holiest site because it is revered as the location of the first and second temples. The Jordanian Islamic Waqf administers the compound's day-to-day religious affairs under the long-standing status quo, while Israel controls access and maintains overall security around and within the site. Non-Muslims may visit the compound during designated hours, but under the official status quo they are not permitted to pray or conduct religious rites there, while Muslim worship is allowed. Hamas has accused Israel of attempting to change the status quo at the site, an allegation Israel rejects while stating that its official policy remains to preserve existing arrangements. The claims come amid rising tensions over Jewish prayer at the compound, with Jordan and other Muslim-majority states warning that any perceived change to long-standing access and worship rules could trigger broader unrest.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.